Government cannot create agricultural transformation. It can only enable it by making more room for businesses to intervene, by putting the right policies and regulations in place, by creating strong institutions, and by building sufficient infrastructure. If anyone understands how profound and true these words are, it will be Dr. Akiwumi Adesina, a celebrated agricultural economist who tested his theories successfully as Nigeria's Minister of Agriculture before his appointment as the President of the African Development Bank. Over the years, the Nigerian government has not only failed to provide the enabling environment for the growth and development of agriculture, it has actually led the way in the relegation of the sector because of a blind dependence on oil. Today, the dwindling value of oil and the consequent economic crisis has forced a return to agriculture and other natural resources. But the neglect of the past is still staring Nigeria in the face. The current tomato crisis in the country is a practical example, a fallout of Nigeria's failure to develop agricultural research and provide support for local uneducated farmers who literally feed the country. There's also the rising cost of critical farming inputs, especially fertilizers and seedlings, a direct effect of inconsistent policies and poor implementation of agricultural development programs. These are our concerns on Farmers Market this week. The twisting story of the current tomato crisis and the threat to this year's agricultural yield because of the rising cost of fertilizers and seedlings. Farmers Market promotes Nigeria's agricultural prowess, identifies challenges besetting the sector, and advocates policies and programs that will help grow Nigeria's agro-economy. Varieties of highly nutritious rice in Abakaliki, Ofada, Kano, yet Nigeria wastes billions on rice importation. Cocoa in the southwest, and yet top dollar is spent on imported chocolate and beverages. Fruits rot in Benue, Nasarawa, Kogi, yet imported juice line the shops. 82 million hectares of rich arable land, yet no jobs, and food insecurity threatens.
Our real wealth is in farming, livestock, hatcheries, fisheries, horticulture, and forestry.
It's time to act different. Time to bring Nigerian farmers to the market. Farmers Market, growing Nigeria's agro-economy. Showing every Tuesday at 5:30 p.m. on AIT. It's the middle of the year. For most tomato farming communities in the country, the season is over. Most tomato breed are planted and harvested before the rainy season sets in. A basket of tomatoes, which sold for an unprecedented 35,000 naira, now goes for about 15,000 naira. An indication that the scarcity which hit the country in May this year may be abating, but the crisis is far from over. Apart from a few places where tomato is grown all year round, Nigeria will have to wait till next year to have tomato in abundance once again. That is if, and only if, the current problems confronting tomato production in the country are promptly and effectively tackled.
We're in contact now with a group which has dealt with this in other countries and which is offering us a solution. In the next few days, we shall get to work on this and begin treatment. And it's going to be quite expensive because tomato production spreads across many parts of the country.
Well, those who think that government had gone to sleep after that pronouncement may be right, because no other official communication has come from the Federal Ministry of Agriculture about progress of efforts to fight the Tuta Absoluta disease. With the crisis abating and the price of tomatoes dropping, there is every likelihood that Nigerians will forget the tomato Ebola crisis of May 2016 until next year if solutions to Tuta Absoluta is not found. Again, Farmers Market undertook a tour of one of the most impacted tomato producing states. This is Kano, Nigeria's center of commerce. Kano is also a formidable center of agriculture, one of the largest producers of tomatoes in the country. Now, Kano is one of those states that was badly affected by the Tuta Absoluta pest in the last tomato season. Now, how are the farmers here coping with their loss? How are they faring? How are they preparing for the next planting season? Come, let's find out together. This is the Palavar farming cluster in Kura local government area of Kano State. It has 22,000 hectares of farmland capable of producing 82,000 tons of farm produce at full capacity.
In this area, there is rice. During the rainy season, mainly is rice. And during the dry seasons, it is tomatoes, onions, fefe, wheat, and also rice.
This is about the only farming cluster that benefits maximally from the Karawa irrigation project embarked upon by the late former military governor of Old Kano State, Audu Bako, in 1969. It began with the construction of the Bagauda and Tiga dams between 1969 and 1973. The man who is fondly called the father of Kano's Green Revolution was looking far into the future when he started the project to boost agriculture in the Old Kano State through irrigation. It has gone through different phases, but today it is a project under the Hadeja Jamari River Basin Development Authority.
In Kano today, we are still praying. Farmers are praying for late Audu Bako. Why? Because he has created facilities that will stand the test of time. Up to today in Kano, we are working with facilities of irrigation created by somebody in the 60s. Why? Because there was this good intention and there's a good heart that is investing for the future. But leaders today, they don't want to invest for the future. They want to invest because they'll be praised. That's the problem. That's what is happening in the field of agriculture today. But I'm glad now that we're having problems with oil. At least now there's a rethink.
Despite the many years of neglect and the failure of subsequent governments to complete the project, the vision of Audu Bako still feeds agriculture in Kano State today. This is why farmers like Bashir and Rabiu can grow tomatoes and other crops here. They are among the hundreds of farmers who incurred heavy losses in the last tomato season, no thanks to the ravaging Tuta Absoluta pest. Bashir is still watching his farm, hoping that it will survive the disease. This is an infected tomato plant. It is obviously drying up. What happens normally is that in a few days, it actually dies. But it's also besides some healthy looking tomato plants. The farmers in these Palavar clusters are hopeful that the onset of the rains may have minimized the impact of the Tuta Absoluta pest on these plants and that they will grow and yield fruits.
It's
the heat. When it's hot, that's when the tomato plant dies. Like this one, it is dead. Now that the rains have started, some of the plants are growing well, I am hopeful that the farm will still produce tomato very well by the grace of God.
That's just a hunch. Bashir's theory is not based on any scientific research. In fact, like most local farmers who suffered huge losses due to what they have correctly termed tomato Ebola, Bashir and Rabiu have not received any support, despite the fact that there is a field office of the Hadeja Jamari River Basin Authority right within the cluster.
All the farmers within this area can go there for any agricultural services. Tractors, input, seed, fertilizer, and everything. The moment you pay the government revenue, the moment the chance you have to get all the services. But now, all these services have been drowned out. There is no single service within this office. If these services will be brought back, really, the farming in this area will grow up, and maybe it will be better than the past.
Extension, you can say, is technically zero. It was all apology to the ADPs. Go to any ADP today, they are lacking requisite support to even maintain their offices. Talk less of money extension services to the farmer. And the extension is the cardinal. From the research, you have the breeder seeds, for example. Of course, we produce the foundation seeds by the ADPs, whatever, and then we produce the seeds. So that's a channel. And that channel has been for 16 years. I don't see any state that has created or they provided enough. All you see is the normal show of lip service.
The big question for these farmers now is what happens in the next tomato season. Will the Tuta Absoluta pest allow a return to tomato farming? With no answers coming from the government, these farmers are left to their own devices.
At what stage of the insect development that attacks the food? Is it the egg, is it the pupa, or the larvae, or the adult? We have to know, and this is the work of our entomologist. We will prevent from going to that stage. So that is a physical control. But the biological control of it too is essential. Some of these insects, they have their own parasites that they live on them. You might get that one from those who have done the study, like where it originated in South America and Brazil, or even our neighbor here in Nigeria or Kenya. These are the two approaches we now use. Then get it, attack that stage of its development. That is where you just break the chain.
With poor data collection and analysis, it may be an uphill task to put figures to the losses Nigeria has incurred as a result of the tomato crisis. Apart from local farmers, entrepreneurs who have invested in processing facilities in line with government's projection to achieve self-sufficiency in tomato paste production by the end of the year are also losing. This is one of them, one of the biggest tomato processing plants in the country. The plant is silent. The workers are out of job, at least for now.
We started running for just barely 2 weeks when the Tuta Absoluta infection came and devastated all tomato farms. So we had no option but to shut down and wait for the next tomato season to come on. So this is where we are now, but we are very optimistic. The local demand of tomato paste can be met by this country. And you see, the most important thing I want people to realize is the problem is not tomato paste, but fresh tomato. 70% of Nigerians use fresh tomato, not tomato paste. So what we need to focus our attention on is how do we grow more tomatoes? How do we give incentives to the farmers to grow more to meet the local demand? As it is now, okay, there was no tomato for some time, but what happened? Nobody died, nobody fell sick for not eating tomato. So that goes to show that even without fresh tomato, we can survive. Talk less of tomato paste. So when we set up this factory, our main focus was to meet the demand of those who are importing paste into the country, so as to stop that importation, to save the Nigerian forex from being depleted on importing something that we can easily grow and process.
Apart from the ongoing tomato crisis, there is another obstacle in the way of achieving self-sufficiency in tomato paste production as projected, and that is government's delay in putting a stop to the unbridled importation of tomato paste into the country, a venture which costs Nigeria a whopping 16 billion naira annually. According to the Minister of Agriculture, cheap tomato paste imported from India and China do not only hurt local production, but they also fall way below acceptable standards for human consumption.
We have also noticed that some of the tomato paste coming into this country from some places are not good for our health, according to findings in NAFDAC. We intend to ban them shortly because now we have self-sufficiency in tomato production. Between Dangote and Erisco, the local capacity is sufficient. More processing factories will be built.
Despite this, the influx of foreign tomato paste continues unabated, raising fears among local entrepreneurs who have invested in tomato processing that government regulatory agencies may be colluding with the importers to frustrate local production of tomato paste.
They are very strong, made big money already as a cabal, because what they are doing is simple. Instead of making good tomato, they put starch and the color and they continue killing Nigerians. And not that I said they are safeguarding our people, actually safeguarding our pocket in that area. When they made the report on their 91.1%, substandard. Then what must stop them from controlling and put it under control till today is zero. And the worst aspect is that even the Indian people that brought this thing into Nigeria are not eating the same thing in their country. China manufacturers are not eating the same thing in their other country. Last time I went with Mr. President on a China trip, business trip, when we go to visit. Our minister was confronted them. Why are you people giving us dumping, using our country as dumping ground? So no, it's you greedy Nigerian businessmen come to take low quality here. It's not our standard. China is good quality. Big indictment on our ministers and NAFDAC. Till this moment, they are doing nothing.
There's more. Some of them believe that the occurrence of the Tuta Absoluta crisis immediately after government announced a tomato paste self-sufficiency policy was too much of a coincidence.
You cannot rule out anything because the Tuta Absoluta is a paste that exists in other countries. It originated really from South America and some European countries and in some African countries. But we have never had it this bad in Nigeria. So there are some insinuations that due to the government policy, maybe some smart people that are into trading in tomato paste want to make sure that the industry doesn't survive. Because this paste is something that is airborne. It can be transported by human. It lays eggs, and these are things that can spread easily and cover a large area. So it's something that can easily be brought into the country if somebody wants to do it.
The implication of all this is that government's well-publicized and highly applauded plan of achieving tomato paste self-sufficiency by the end of the year is already jeopardized.
We lost over 3 billion naira in this country, in this business. I sustain this business here from my business in Angola and business in UAE. That's why it's because some foreigners have told me they will deal with me until I close down, supported by our own regulatory agencies. So I now swear, I better do this country to be proud than to allow them to get their way. So that is why, if for business-wise, this is the worst business I've ever done in my life. That is correct. And we refuse to join the importers. All my products in line, the tomato, I have never registered any foreign food items. I have never imported, and I don't want to from day one. Even when there was free foreign exchange to do that. Foreign exchange started 1 year ago. I said 6 years ago.
Tuta Absoluta may not be the only threat to good agricultural output this year. The rising cost of inputs, especially fertilizer and seedlings, have also become a major threat. This can be traced to the poor transition between the past and the present administrations in the implementation of the Agricultural Growth Enhancement Support Scheme. This is a program designed by the past government to provide support directly to farmers to enable them procure agricultural inputs at affordable prices and at the right time and at the convenient place. The planting season has begun and most farmers are planting without nutrients. That's Farmers Market for this week. Next week we will be looking deeply at the reasons why the price of fertilizer and other farming inputs are rising.
Before now, fertilizer was sold in the market 4,000, 4,005. Highest, no matter the quality, no matter the brand, it doesn't go beyond 5,000. Last year it was the same thing. This year is different. Why is it different? Because in the first place, the commodity is scarce. Last year it was available somehow, but this year it's not even available. You can hardly mention any company in Nigeria that has more than 1,000 trailers to distribute. Now this is a country where the demand during this period, consumption can reach as high as 500,000 metric tons within the same 1.5 months. That product is not available.
You can see this program again whenever you want to. Just visit our website www.farmersmarketng.com. For feedback and sponsorship considerations, please contact us on 009 566 0090. Email us on info@farmersmarketng.com. Follow us on Twitter @farmersmarketng and like our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/farmersmarketng. Farmers Market returns same time, same station next week. Thanks for watching.